You're listening to The Awcast, the most awesome wrestling podcast you'll ever listen to, at least in the confines of my own mind. Let's go. And welcome back to Aftershock Wrestling Entertainment. Welcome back to The Awcast. I'm your host, Brant Fowler, and we've got some stuff to talk about after Dynamite last night as a follow-up to my last episode. So we're going to get into all that. But before we get there, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a single video or piece of content on this channel. Also, please give it a thumbs up if you liked what you see. And for the audio listeners, definitely check out the other episodes of the show on the YouTube channel. You can find that by going to allpodcast.com. And for, again, the YouTube viewers, you can find all the audio versions at allpodcast.com/show or on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can subscribe to the newsletter at allpodcast.com/subscribe. And you can follow me across social media at the Awcast. So, my last episode, if you whether you saw it or not, I talked about CM Punk, his comments at the media scrum. I talked about All Out. I talked about Clash of the Castle. But based on the announcement that Tony Khan made at the beginning of Dynamite this week and the fallout from that, the All Out fallout that the good folks at What Culture are using and various people across Twitter are using. It's an apt term. It rhymes. It's good. I like it, so I stole it. But anyway, yeah. So in my previous episode, I kind of implied very loosely that this could potentially be a work or at least be partially a work, right? I talked about how everybody that was involved in the scrum went a little bit in character, but were pulling from real stuff. So, and I was kind of erring on the side of caution. I didn't want to assume that, these are shoot comments, and Tony Khan was not reacting at the time, which is probably the wise thing to do. And then there was rumors that broke out about the brawl that happened afterwards, and all this is coming in. And I had some family stuff, so I was not like glued to Twitter and social media, and I wasn't sure exactly where things lied. But since then, of course, I've gone and watched some videos, I've checked out websites, I've checked out social media, and all signs are pointing to this all being legit, all being a shoot. The fight's real, and based on the announcement and certain other things that happened during Dynamite, it does seem to be completely a shoot, and very unfortunate circumstances for both AEW and the roster, those involved in the altercation, and of course for the fans. So let's talk about it a little bit. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this topic because there's a lot of people that are a lot more informed and have a longer track record. I'm just some dude on the internet that's a huge wrestling lifelong fan, and I wanted to talk about this. So hopefully you enjoy my take, and if you do, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think, what you're thinking about this whole situation, what you think about CM Punk, who you think's involved. I don't care. Whatever you want to say about this situation, try to keep it civil, but leave me some comments, please. So if you don't know, this past Sunday was AEW All Out, and it was a phenomenal pay-per-view. Won't go into that. You can go listen to the last episode that I recorded if you want to listen to my thoughts about All Out overall. But after All Out, as AEW typically does, they have a media scrum. They invite a bunch of press, and they handpick a few talents to come and talk to the audience. In this particular one, CM Punk's the first one. He started it off, and then Swerve in Our Glory, I believe, followed, and then Tony Storm, and then Chris Jericho. So CM Punk kicked it off, and he pulled no punches. He went into detail about his relationship with Colt Cabana. And again, I talked about all this on the previous episode, so I'm not going to rehash it too much. But he talked about all that. He talked about Hangman Adam Page. He threw in some digs at the EVPs being Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega, and just overall the company. And his comment was they couldn't run a target. There were a bunch of kids, empty-headed people. Empty-headed, I think he used in reference to Adam Page, and just so on and so forth. So it was very brutal, f bombs left and right. He was just unleashed, and it was not good. Knowing that it's not at all a work later on, unless they have pulled the swerve of the century on all of us, which I don't. Considering that I believe legal actions have come into play with this whole thing. And rumors are swirling that CM Punk's done with AEW now. Given all the information that we've discovered in the past couple of days, it doesn't seem likely that this is going to be any kind of swerve or work, which is very unfortunate. So after he made all those comments, apparently the EVPs were very upset about this, confronted Punk. There's a lot of accounts of what happened, who threw first punches and stuff, but it's kind of clear that Ace still was in there, and his wife had a broken leg, and he was, I guess, in protection of her, he apparently bit Kenny Omega and pulled his hair, and CM Punk and Matt Jackson or one of the Jackson, I think it was Matt Jackson that he was fighting with, and Nick Jackson was getting involved, and Kenny Omega was trying to get CM Punk's dog Larry out of the way and get him safe. And so much going on, to the point where the big announcement that Tony Khan made at the beginning of Dynamite this week was that all parties involved, well, he didn't go into detail about any of this. He didn't mention anybody by name. He didn't mention why or what the reasons were. He just said, because of things that happened after All Out, the world champion and the trios champions, I've stripped them of their titles and suspended them. And that was it. And then he went into detail about what would happen with those titles, which I'll get to in a minute. Also of note, which I saw on a bunch of websites that they were talking about this, was that they had CM Punk and Kenny Omega and the Elite removed from the Dynamite intro. And I didn't notice this. I probably fast forwarded through it, to be honest, because I watched it late. I was out. So I didn't get to watch it live. So, yeah, apparently they were removed from the intro to Dynamite, and then the announcers Taz, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur, who were the announce team for the entire duration of the program, no JR this week. They opened it, and then they turned it to Tony with this pre-recorded announcement, and then we got into the show. MJF opened up. John Moxley came out with an impassioned speech, which I think was probably in reference to all this stuff going on, because he was talking about how much the AEW title means to him and to the world of professional wrestling, and he was praising some of the younger guys and praising some of his contemporaries like Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho, and he was praising everybody and talking about the passion of this business and this company. And I thought it was a really mature and respectful way to address the situation without addressing the situation. So yeah, basically what is happening going forward on Dynamite, there was a match, a trios match that I think was already scheduled. It was Death Triangle versus Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, and that became to be for the vacated trios titles, which now the Death Triangle holds. They won the match, and they are the new trios tag team champions. As far as AEW, the AEW world title, it is being determined by a 2-week-long tournament where it looks like Chris Jericho and John Moxley get a bye as multi-time champs, or what, I don't know. I guess just because they get a bye, because they're Chris Jericho and John Moxley, but they get a bye. And then there's 4 other competitors in this, and we saw the first match tonight, which was Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page. And Bryan Danielson, for the first time in AEW, defeated Hangman Adam Page. Hadn't been able to do that previously, so he defeated him, and he advances on to face Chris Jericho next week, which Chris Jericho kind of spoiled earlier in the night, where he said, next week I'm going to beat Danielson again, and he hadn't even wrestled yet. But faux pas and all that. So Danielson advances. He will face Jericho, and so now on Rampage we have not Daniel Garcia. Sorry, he was fighting for the Pure Championship. Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. And the winner of that match will then go to face Jon Moxley on next week's Dynamite. So then the winners of those matches, Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley versus either Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, will face in 2 weeks at Arthur Ashe at Grand Slam, which is, I believe it's September 21st. So then on September 21st, 2 weeks away, we will now have a brand new world champion. Will it be Jon Moxley again? Will it be Chris Jericho again? Or will it be somebody new? Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson? We'll just have to wait to see. But it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. We don't know how long CM Punk, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega are suspended. We don't know if CM Punk is coming back. Also involved in this melee, I believe, were Nakazawa, Pat Buck, and there may have been others. I'm not exactly sure, but man, it's so unfortunate that after such a great pay-per-view, after such a great outing, that something like this would happen based on a lack of communication, really, and a lack of being able to approach this like adults and hash it out, instead of using your media time to call people out, and then on the other side of that, going and confronting in reportedly an aggressive manner, and then just like letting it escalate to where you're getting physical and going to blows, instead of just talking this out and getting this straight. Even if you have to, come to the conclusion that you don't like each other, but you all work for the same company and you gotta live with each other, basically. It seems unfortunate to me that something like that couldn't happen in this day and age, and with these professionals that have been around for as long as they have. All of these guys have been wrestling and in the wrestling business for a very long time. None of them are rookies. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks may have never soared to the WWE heights that CM Punk did, but that doesn't mean they haven't put in years of time and energy and effort, and kind of know what they're doing too. So it's on all sides. Everybody has the experience and the maturity that they should be able to handle things differently. So it's unfortunate that it went the way it did. But that said, anybody that wasn't in that room doesn't know every detail and doesn't know what's gone on between them. We only know what we've been told through the websites and the social media and stuff, and people, insiders, and personal accounts and that kind of thing. Nobody knows the full story from every angle. That's just impossible, and it's the way it is. We can only go by what information is disseminated to us, and make our judgments and opinions based on that. So, in my opinion, I think CM Punk stirred a hornet's nest, and this is the result of that. Whether he was justified in it or not, I don't know. I don't know the man. I've never met the man. I don't know how he thinks, how he acts, how he holds himself backstage. I don't know any of that. I know what I see. I know what impression I get from the man, and I don't know. I don't want to speculate, and I don't want to put out opinions because again, I'm just some random guy from the internet that likes wrestling and likes to talk about it and has a podcast about it. I've made no secrets that I'm not the hugest fan of CM Punk and never have been. Um, I understand his value. I think he's an incredible boon for AEW, or at least he was when he first came back. It was a huge get, and anything that elevated AEW, I was behind. I was happy for because I wanted to see this company grow and create competition so that all wrestling could be elevated. And I've talked about that many times on this podcast. But his I don't know. To me, personally speaking, on the way outside looking in and seeing everything that's happened over the past decade with CM Punk, I just don't like the way the man handles things. That's it. So, but at the same time, I don't really care for the way that the EVPs handled this situation either. So again, tempers flared. We don't know what happened. We don't really know the ins and outs of that relationship and what's gone on previously that maybe led up to this, except for what CM Punk has told us about his interactions and that kind of thing. So yeah, it just sucks. It sucks for wrestling fans. I just was talking about on the last episode how this was the best CM Punk we've seen since he came back. That he was at top notch. He wrestled a really good match. I enjoyed watching him at that level because I had not been able to see him at that level since he came back. I had not seen him at that level for 7 years. So it was good to see CM Punk at that level. And now he may be gone again. And it just sucks. It sucks, especially for people that really do love CM Punk and really enjoy him in the ring. And, I'll admit he's a great talker and he's entertaining and he captivates an audience and he is a big star. But none of that gives any of them the right to handle things the way they do, especially when it affects so many other people. I think that's the thing. They can do whatever they want. They're grown people. They I'm not saying that. They can do whatever they want. They have a right is not the correct term, but I think when you're representing a company, and especially as its champion and its trios champions, that there's a certain level of responsibility and professionalism that should probably come with that. And it doesn't seem, at least in this one instance on this one night, that was the case. And it resulted in suspensions and titles being vacated and possibly people leaving the company. And that sucks for everyone involved, including us. So that's my hot take on this situation. And of course, I'll be watching to see exactly how this resolves and or continues on. I know we will all be watching with bated breath and talking about this for days, weeks, months to come. And hopefully, in the end, in the long run, the solution to this entire situation is something that is beneficial to everyone. And that includes CM Punk, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, AEW, Tony Khan, and all the fans. That's all we can hope for at this point, I think, is that some way, somehow, this resolves in a way that we can all enjoy this business, this company, and these wrestlers. That's my hope for it, and that's all I can say. So anyway, that's been my hot take on this whole development of suspensions and titles being vacated and put up for grabs. I'd love, again, to hear your comments on this situation. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. And of course, you can find other episodes right here on this YouTube channel at allpodcast.com, or you can find the audio version at allpodcast.com/show, or on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts from. You can subscribe to the newsletter at allpodcast.com/subscribe, and follow me across social media at the Allcast. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep watching wrestling and stay awesome. Take care.